So let's start by looking at diet and nutrition. Diet and nutrition can be one of the most difficult areas in the house. It can be very difficult to get your kids to eat good and healthy food. But diet and nutrition are the building blocks that will help your children develop strong physical bodies and minds. So we're going to come back to the setting the example thing one more time. And my theory on this is that when it comes to diet and nutrition, you have to focus on filling them up with pretty good stuff most of the time. You can't please all of the people all of the time, but you can please some of them most of the time. A couple ways to do this are, one, to avoid keeping junk food at the house. Don't only reward with junk food. This is very dangerous when it comes to homeschool, especially. I know in the past we have many times offered food rewards in the form of M&Ms or chips or pizza or any of the many bad things. When kids get in the habit of associating bad food with good things, that sets a precedent for obesity and long-term bad habits. It's also very important to be careful with sugar. Sugar is highly addictive, and it is in almost all processed foods to add some sort of flavor. Something you need to be aware of here is that kids will most certainly and most likely rebel against healthy eating habits. As a child, my parents often pushed healthy eating habits on me, of which I was very slow to develop a taste for, but as I grew and matured, I came back around to the things that I learned as a child. So, lastly, be careful with drinks. Many of them have more sugar than sodas. We will get more to drinks later, and glucose that is found in juice can be very important, but it's also one of the things to be very careful with. Let's take a look at some other keys to live by. Let's go back to the 80-20 rule here. This rule applies in pretty much everything that you do. If you haven't heard about it, I'm not exactly sure where you've been, but it's important to remember that health and nutrition is 80% diet and 20% exercise. Movement is great, but without the proper diet, you're really kind of spinning your wheels. So keeping this in mind, it's important to note that nutritionally dense food is your friend. What is nutritionally dense food, you ask? Well, anything that has a higher ratio of nutrition to calories. Things like fruit, vegetables, healthy meats. If something has empty calories, I consider it to be a nutritionally non-dense food. Sleep is also one of the most important factors that often gets ignored, and people often try to cut out of their schedule. I know this happens very routinely with kids as they're growing up and trying to attend more classes and trying to do things in the morning, and they're trying to fit school in after, or they're trying to fit friends in after school, and pretty soon they try to start cutting sleep. And sleep is a regenerative process that is essential for proper development of mind and body. And with that said, food affects your mental capacity or lack thereof. I know it sounds cliche, but we should eat to live, not live to eat. And as I've already said before, be very careful about rewarding with foods. You should try to come up with other things as well. Now, these keys to live by with activity also correspond to the adult as well. The first thing I like to keep in mind is that I often don't feel like doing things, and when I don't feel like doing things, what I remind myself of is that if I get up and do them, I'm going to feel better. So the more you move, the more you're going to want to move, and the better you will feel. And of course, up to a point. And with all that said, playing hard will help you sleep better, so that corresponds to one of the previous slides as well. The better sleep will help you regenerate and help you think better, so we are kind of developing a circular process here. Recovery is also a big part of movement. The more you move, the more you have to recover, the more you need to sleep. And I think it's important that we don't factor out small movement. Just getting your kids out, moving around, walking around, hiking, doing things outside. You know, there's a lot to be said for just kicking kids out and getting them outside to move around. Now, taking all of this back to the classroom, all of this movement promotes blood flow, of course, which, as we know from previous modules here, promotes brain activity, which promotes learning.